Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. A very good day and welcome to another edition of Parenting Today, where we help you circumvent some parenting pitfalls, alhamdulillah, in the line of how our Prophet ﷺ led us as a true example and also pleasing the Almighty. Please do join us via our social media pages. You can text us, message us, and that is any questions, comments, or concerns that you have with regards to parenting. You can also tell your colleagues, any of your family, friends to follow us right now, and they can watch the show live via our live stream on our website, that is Hilaal.tv. Otherwise, join us with the repeat over the weekend as well. Thank you so much once again for always interacting with us. We really appreciate it. I'm Khawa Solomon. Stay with me for the next hour or so as we chat ergonomics. What is ergonomics? We have occupational therapist in studio with us. She did something on the medical side for adults, but it's all about posture, correct posture, not in a way to strain you, but better to cause no pain. So in studio we have, and very familiar to the screens, especially with the parenting, is occupational therapist Wahida Esop, who often chats to us about peds and OT, but in this line we actually concentrating on her speciality, and that is ergonomics. Welcome, Wahida. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. It's so nice to be back. And yes, it's nice to talk about something that's in my everyday areas of work,
Yes.
but specifically then to children.
So we spoke about this briefly, not briefly, we had a whole show with regards to adults and
Yes.
ergonomics. What can you explain in a way where the parents could understand the importance and what ergonomics is?
So, as we said, ergonomics is the environment and how your environment matches your body. And when we spoke about adults, we spoke specifically about ergonomics, especially when parents or adults have to perform their work and be long at a desk. With children, it's a lot more challenging because we have the increased use of devices and technology that's just so rife in today's day and age. But children still have the challenge of growing up.
Yeah.
So they still have to develop, they still have to learn, they still have to grow. So they have to, that's why we need to let them gain insight, and parents also guide them to adapt their environment. So we and let them be conscious of their posture, their ergonomics, and how they can use that to still then thrive and grow.
Okay, so
Optimally.
in layman's, ergonomics is your posture, your makeup,
Your
connected
body.
to the environment that you're going to be in.
Yes.
Most of the kids' environment would be their home, of course, but
Yes.
of course most of it rather is at their school.
Yes.
So they spend most of the time either at school in the madrasa, again
Yes.
on the ground,
Yes.
and then at home maybe in front of their desk. So
Yes.
to understand their correct posture, I know you did the whole neck effects.
Yes,
Is it the
yes.
same for the children?
Yes, so ideally, we are not really meant to be slouched and hunched.
Yeah.
Your posture is less straining on your joints when it is upright. And with the use of devices, we all tend to do this, and we tend to slouch over. And that really isn't the correct position.
Yeah.
We spoke about the last time about the strain of the neck in a flexed position that causes so much of strain. So we get something called a text neck effect.
Okay.
So that's with adults and kiddies. But what basically happens is that you have a lot of texting and using their phone,
Yeah.
and in one
We've got
one
the
hand.
picture up now.
And you, because you're doing that, you put a strain on your neck. And what can later happen is you can cause inflammation.
Yeah.
Or that can cause inflammation on the ligaments, on your. It can cause nerve irritation, and for children especially, it can actually then affect the curvature of the spine, which is something we don't want. So yes, we need to focus on that a little bit more.
Text effects.
Yes, so the text
neck-
effect. So we want to avoid that.
effects.
That's just remember, we want to avoid that. Then generally with ergonomics, the reason we want to look at ergonomics is there is obviously a direct link between well-being and the attainment of education or learning and developing. So if a child is well, if your body is in a state of good health, you obviously will learn better.
Okay.
Also with children, they, if you have some kind of thing that's in a state of discomfort, and often it's on a subconscious level. They're not aware that, they're not in the right position. But that can affect their concentration, and it can affect it negatively.
Okay.
So we wanna keep that in mind as well. And because, again, they are children, you want to prevent any kind of long-term postural problems. If they're constantly hunched over, that is not ideal, an ideal position for the spine. And that constant pressure can lead to a postural imbalance, which later on can have back problems and neck problems, which we don't want.
Yeah.
And then the bottom line is that children have to learn, and to do that, they have to use a device.
Yeah.
So at a lot of the schools, I know my son's primary school, they all have tablets.
Yes.
And all of the curriculum, everything is loaded on there, and they've got to work off there. When they get to university, most of the time they're working off a laptop. So we need to make that a healthy way to actually learn by adapting it.
And
yes.
we are constantly, as you said, in front of a screen.
Yes.
And even us just with the tics. So the
Yes.
tics net effect is not necessarily only for our kids, but
Yes.
it's something
For
for
us.
us as well.
For us too, definitely.
So of the tics net effect, what and how can we bring up this conversation for our children to realize that how we are doing it? Because you've explained just tilting your head. Is it 45 degrees?
Yes, yes.
You are straining your back,
It's
your
like
shoulders.
Yes, over 20
your
kilos,
lower,
almost like
20 kilos,
over
yes.
20 kilos.
There we
yeah,
go.
Yes.
Going forward. So just on that, is it for our kids also the same? Is their head also increasing by 20
I don't know
kilos?
about the weight range,
Yeah.
but there's definitely a strain.
Yeah.
So, and the best thing to do, which I like, I've actually sort of put that at the end, but maybe we can talk about it now, is to educate our children.
Yeah.
So, and you'll be surprised at how a little child from as young as 6 or 7 years can understand. Listen, I'm not supposed to be in this position. This is not a good position. So
because they're
by
also following
educating them-
us
yes,
when they
yes,
see us.
Yes.
So how can we get this conversation and start it? Because they might not feel strain or pain,
Yes.
but we say, oh, my neck is sore, my back is sore. And they
Yes.
think, oh, you're old.
Okay, so one of the things that we look at is basically their posture, and often we're going to look at the posture at the desk.
Okay.
So that's at the school desk, at the desk at home, or wherever they are going to be sitting, and more often doing work.
Yeah.
So we want to look at. I think we do have a. But can I just before we talk about that, I want to, because this is also part of the whole educating kids.
Yeah.
Is the whole screen time limitation.
Yes. No, let's bring that up.
So before we get to the actual screen time, just in general, to give parents some guideline as to how much is. I know we've had discussions about
Yes.
this.
No, we've
lots
had.
of
We've
it.
even had, what is her name? Nikki Bush actually
Yes.
advised us.
Oh,
She
yeah.
did a
Okay,
brilliant
she's
show
awesome.
on screen time and
Yes.
monitoring your child's screen time.
Yes.
So there's been varied aspects of
Yes.
it. And her experience with kiddies was amazing.
Yeah.
And that does guide us. But from an OT point of view, I mean, you know the
Yes.
effects of it.
Yes, so a lot of it is probably what she mentioned before, but I'm just going to give you a quick guideline according to one of the pediatric societies on screen time, the actual time spent on a screen for children. So it is advised that under 2 years should not be a screen at all.
That's right.
That's worrying, because if you see how many babies
They actually just give the child the
Yes,
tablet
yes.
or the phone.
Okay, so that's
Under
quite
2,
common.
please,
Yeah,
guys. Okay.
But if parents, if you can avoid it, please don't give it to a child that's under 2. If a child is between 2 and 5 years old, then they can have a maximum of screen time of an hour a day.
2 to 5 years.
Yes. The time spent on the screen also, even if it's for an hour, shouldn't be continuous.
Okay.
So have them
A break.
20 minutes, have a break, and then do something else, and then another 20 minutes. We should not have. They should. Oh, this is for adults as well. An hour before bedtime, no screen. It's said
lights and all
that
that.
the glare of the screen affects or suppresses melatonin production.
Oh, wow.
And that's what's needed for you to help you fall asleep.
Often we think, oh, why I'm struggling to sleep.
Yes.
That's probably why, 'cause
So
you are
if
on
you
your
are
phone.
having a problem falling asleep, try not looking at your phone for an hour before you go to bed and see if
Okay.
that makes a difference.
Okay.
And then just to use devices where possible to maybe heighten the screen or to put it in a certain position that's less strenuous.
Okay. We haven't got into the plus 5 years old because I know that's debatable.
Yes.
But that's around about the time. Thank you so much, Wahida Aesop, occupational therapist. And our conversation is about ergonomics. If you want to know what that's all about, stay tuned and don't go anywhere. Back in a moment. Welcome back. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Parenting today, and the topic is ergonomics. What is that all about? We have occupational therapists to explain, but in layman, it's about the posture that needs to be conducive to your environment. And specifically with kids, we did a whole show for adults on the health show. But this now for parents rather, to be advised that, you know what, all screen time, and we're going to say this a few times throughout the shows, wherever it does come up, all screen time must be managed. And as our occupational therapist said, according to research by pediatrics, that no child under 2 should be given a screen. So please, advisement from the medical fraternity. Wahida, welcome back. So under 2, no
Yes.
screens.
Yes.
2 to 5, 1 hour a day.
Yes.
And this is like any screen, your TV. Don't say, oh no, I gave him an hour of TV, now I'm going to give him an hour tablet.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
1 hour a day. And then from 5 plus, I mean...
Yeah, so then they specifically speak about the kids under 5. And then I think after 5, it's usually dependent on what their demands are at their preschool or their school.
Okay.
I think, but you can manage it at home. And I would actually say weekends, you can go up to 2 hours.
Okay.
But we try during the week, try to limit it.
Yeah, because in fact have a rule, if they don't need to use a screen or the TV for the week, then no screens of the week.
Yeah,
and then TV
ideal.
maybe movie night or something over the weekend.
Yes.
But as we know, from about 13, 14 upwards, they're on the screens. They're using the laptops. In fact, we used to go to the library to go and search for our project information, go through the newspapers, old newspapers and magazines and encyclopedias.
Yes. Yes.
And rewrite everything over.
Yeah.
But they just Google everything, and there's Google Translate. There's just
everything is
a
out
world
there.
of information on their in their screens, in their face. So I actually went to one stage, just to bring this in here, I actually went to one stage where I was so tired of everybody on a screen, because there's 4 of them at school and they're all on different screens besides the big ones, so they got to manage their own. And I was like, no, we can't do this. And then somebody did something wrong, and then I said, I'm going to go find an encyclopedia. I'm going to get you guys library cards. And I think for that 1 or 2 projects, they were like, Mommy, there isn't as much information in this encyclopedia. They were just so restricted and so upset that there's just so much more that they can Google. And the encyclopedias
really
were a bit restricted. So I said, no, you're just going to use the encyclopedia and we're going to research information. I think I eventually Googled some stuff to help them. But it was the good old days that I think we appreciated back then.
It's very different.
Sitting on the floor, sitting wherever you are. In fact, doing your homework, finishing it off, using the light to whatever dim light there was. But that's how we did our projects.
Yes, that's what we did.
But life is just so much more different.
So different.
What is available to our children.
Yeah.
So here we want to move on to, at the end of the day, the holistic environment and an overview of our children, of what they need. Because everything's so digital and instant. So let's look at the holistic overview of some of the factors to consider when it comes to ergonomics.
Yeah, so that's why the kiddies' ergonomics are so different, because, as I said, they still need to grow and learn. So if you have to look at it holistically, you have your child in the middle, and he plays an important role because it's through him that he understands this whole ergonomics thing and what he should be doing and shouldn't be doing. But then you also have the parent that you need to that needs to get insight on ergonomics and what their child should be doing. And then we also have the parents, the teachers or caregivers that are also involved. And if you look at it then holistically, you would we would go through different aspects of a child, and I will quickly take you through all of them. So it's basically your posture, and then we look at aspects of movement. We also look at environmental factors and things like mental well-being. So these all play a role, and we want to understand them each and see how they can make a difference. So if you start off with the posture, or basically their position at a desk. So if you look at the picture that we've got on the screen, we have a child at his desk, and I'm going to go according to the numbers that we have there. So number one is that you want him to have a supportive chair.
That's the lower part of the chair.
Yes, so basically it's because kiddies are usually shorter and the desks are usually made for adults, they may need to sit on a chair. They also need to have a nice backrest, and if they don't, you can put a cushion or a rolled up towel to give them that back support. And then what's nice to have is something for them to put their feet on. So a little footrest.
That's number 3.
But even a box that, those kind of things work. And if they have then, what we spoke a lot about last time is that your screen should be on the level of your eye.
Yes.
So to have your screen then elevated.
And I see that's a very innovative way where they just stack some books.
Yes, so you don't have to have a fancy kind of device to keep that. You can just use a stack of books. But remember, he's not working on that keyboard. So that's just so that he can see the screen on that level. And then if he has a tablet or a phone, then to put it in a stand that's tilted so that he can see nicely. And then also just at the desk to have it a little bit nicely organized, where your mouse is on the right hand side.
So you've just got his risks on the desk.
Yeah. So and also just to maybe organize his work such that it's within reach. And this is basically for a child that's going to be studying for. Obviously, it needs to study for a longer period of time. Right. So if a child does that, that is your positioning. But
what do we have at number 6? Is that the keyboard? That's where the keyboard needs to be.
Did I miss a number?
Yeah. No. You've mentioned about the tablet being.
Sorry, 6 is just the organizing of the table.
The side view.
If you're looking from the top, just to have it everything clear, close by. So that is, as I said, if a child has to sit. But remember, at the end of the day, we encouraging children not to sit as much as so if they can stand, it's actually better, and to get a lot of movement. So if they do need to sit for a period of time, after 20 minutes, let them stand up, let them walk around, let them stretch. Yes. And they also should be encouraged to do their work in different positions. So they don't have to, they can lie around, they can stand up. It just depends. Obviously, if they do have a lot of writing tasks, lying on the floor is not always conducive. But to have a change of position is quite good.
So what about children that are quite fidgety and can't sit long for long periods of time? Because I've heard with my one son, when he was going to OT and speech therapy, he was ADHD and he was just got bored sometimes. They said to me, give him a stress ball to keep with him.
Fidget toy.
Or put a fidget, or put some elastic on his legs or something like that. So just give us some ideas with kids that don't sit
so that
still.
is, those are your kiddies that are fidgety. But so what does help is to have a type of fidget toy.
Okay.
So whether it be a little actual toy that you can, or even like a piece of plastic.
Okay.
You have those elastic bands that you can put at on
The exercise
at the
elastic
bottom
bands,
of the chair.
The chair.
So that helps with it's called a foot fidget actually. So they can, if they want to move their feet. So that fidget toy just focuses on getting out that extra energy, electrical energy that the brain normally has.
From being still.
Focus it on something, and then automatically then that helps with the concentration. So yeah.
Okay, because I found one of them sitting on the laptop looking through multiplications of some sort, and there was a little game that popped up at the bottom, and I went and I said, "What is this?" No, I need it. It's Minecraft for school. So I said, "No, Minecraft is a game." And when I came back and I saw he was actually so bored by watching this video, because he was watching a video for one of the lessons, and then he had this game pop up, and I said, "No, you can't be playing a game and watching your video." And I gave him something fidgety.
Even doodling while you're listening to a talk and you're doodling, that also is a form of a fidget toy.
Yeah, so it's years later, he's a little bit older, he's in high school now. So you have to find ways, and I thought, you know what, at this stage, you don't have to monitor a child anymore, but you still have to go in every 5 minutes to see what they're doing, if they are listening to their lessons, if they are busy with their homework. So screen time, as much as you have to manage it, it's become challenging as well.
It is.
You think you're leaving your child for the 20 minutes to work for 20 minutes. You don't know if they're going to get that work input of that 20 minutes.
You definitely need incentives.
Yes, there we go. So, and give us some interesting and innovative incentives, if you have any, that can just pop up from your.
Okay, I don't know how innovative they are, though.
Yeah, just some incentives.
But I think kids are just generally so hooked on their phones and their devices, and the threat taking that away
I know.
is so bad, but it really works the best.
Okay.
So that's that's challenge,
on the top of the list.
The challenge, I think, for parents is actually the consistency part.
Yeah, keeping that going.
If you have rules, stick to the rules.
Okay.
They break the rules, stick to the rules. Stick to the punishment, or stick to the consequence.
Yeah,
that's the most important thing. So I think if you can do that, then you
and I think as an occupational therapist and dealing with now specifically in your field, but dealing a lot with children, I want to just quickly go through some of the ways that parents don't realize how they're in fact destroying some sort of possible character or nature that could be helping the child at the end of the day when he is an adult, when they are not keeping to certain rules and consequences. They say, I'm going to give you this, and I'm going to this, and then they don't keep to it, and how it actually does mentally affect the child. But we'll talk more. I know we're talking ergonomics, but a lot comes in when you have to interact with your child, when you have to portray certain postures in this instance, but certain behaviors, and hopefully your child will pick up on that and follow you. So ergonomics for kids, very different, but extremely interesting. It's a new word. Get that conversation going. We'll talk more just after this with occupational therapist Wahida Esop. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. A very good day to you. Assalamu alaikum. Remember, you can also tell your family, friends and colleagues across the lands and over the beautiful seas if they still want to follow us. On today's Parenting Today show, we're talking about ergonomics. They can do so via Hilaal.tv. Also catch our uploads, Parenting Today, Hilaal TV, on our YouTube channel. We're in studio with a new topic. It's just new to me, and I want to keep that conversation going and just check if people know what ergonomics is. So occupational therapist is in studio with us, Wahida Esop, who is always free and willing, came all the way from Benoni to sit next to me here and do this show. Alhamdulillah, shukran so much. We did a special show just for adults on the medical matters around ergonomics, but we saw that kids need their own guide on this. Parents, at least 2 parents, 4 kids. So we went through some of the backgrounds, the posture. I have to remember text, neck. That's an actual effect. Text, neck.
Text,
neck
effect.
No. It is text, neck effect. text posture and text neck effect that is an actual condition.
Yes.
So now when you come with carpal tunnel, there is a text neck carpal, whatever,
Yes.
happening there. And then understanding, this conversation that needs to get going, ergonomics, instead of saying, posture according to your environment, it is ergonomics. And looking at children on a holistic point of view, you spoke about parents and teachers and the child coming together and all the factors around that. Now we want to move on to the importance of movement, because we spoke about kids that are a bit fidgety, things that you need to do with your child to keep them awake and, on the right path, not lagging off and watching videos or playing games. So outside factors on when it comes to
so movement
being
is
stature.
just it's just so important. When they and with kids it's easy. If you're in a classroom and the kids have been at it for 20 minutes, they can stand up or do a funny exercise or move around,
jacks,
stretch, or everybody can come up with their own little thing, what they're going to do to stretch. At home, you can tell them, listen, you've seen they've been at it for a while, go and fetch my stuff from the room, but duck walk there. So just to encourage them, encourage the movements, and also if you still want them to engage in exercise type movement. So whether it be sports, whether it be gym, you want them to get the cardio in. We know all about that. And most kids do. If they do partake in sporting activities, they get in their cardio, they get in their stretching, they get the weight training if they are at that older age group. What is very important, however, for the ergonomics part is the core development.
Yes.
So we often forget about that, and it's especially important in children. So again, from your core, if your core is strong, your movements are easier. There's less chance of having an injury. There's less chance of you can prevent yourself from a fall. You can save yourself if you're in that position. So you want to make kids aware that they need to get a strong tummy. And so that can be incorporated in their other activities. So if they are doing sports, if they're aware of it, if they know that, listen, I need to get my tummy stronger, then they will then start including that in their gym routine or whatever it is they're doing.
I know that's a show completely on its own, but what is the reasons for having a strong core?
So if you have a strong core, firstly, for posture, positioning at the desk, your tummy and all of the muscles around there support your back.
Okay.
Right? So that's the first reason. Then if you think about doing any kind of activity, if you think of a building with a strong base,
yes, okay.
So it's so almost like that with your body. If your body has a strong core, it makes everything else, all the other movements, much more easier.
Okay.
So keep that in mind.
So it allows the child possibly to maybe sit correctly, to walk in a proper
else
manner.
Sort of like falls into place.
Do they experience pain though, if they're not sitting correctly, or is it something that then it's going to be happening long term?
You know what? If they are like in really at a screen, and then there is that constant with the neck, they're going to get inflammation. That inflammation is going to cause some kind of neck pain. That may cause headaches. That may later cause, they may have some back pain. But if they may not feel all of that now, they may not get any pain now. Just being in that poor position may not cause any pain, but long term you may have an effects.
Okay. So let's chat about the environmental factors then.
So what we want to do, we spoke the last time about lighting. So again, we want lighting to come in, good light to come into the room, but it should be not behind your screen, or not in front of your screen. It should preferably on the side. Okay. Also, with kiddies, you need to have their eyes checked regularly. Okay. So often, because it changes a lot with them as they're growing. Right. So have those checked regularly. And if you have a household that's got a lot of noise, and the kids do need to study from home, then you can always look at things that cancel out noise, earphones, or even just wrapping up a scarf around their head, that kind of thing, just to block out the noise. And then obviously just general comfort things that you can look at, just the thermal temperature in the room, having a light jacket, and we are also just to keep the windows open with some fresh air, because often and we're lucky in South Africa, we can do that. We can in winter have the window open with a light jacket on. So just to keep those things in mind. And also what's nice to do as a break for your little ones is to just then go outside. Go outside, absorb all the sights and sounds that are out there. And you don't have to always be with them. You're going to tell them, go outside and find for me 5 things that are interesting and come and tell me. Go look.
And that also changes the lighting for them as well.
Yes.
And I'm thinking now of how we sometimes use the humidifier, we use diffusers, so we can use it in that instance as well. For the environment. Okay, maybe some children don't always like the smells or the incense sticks, but see which child does. And
if it's
that's
needed,
also part of the environment to make them conducive.
Definitely.
Okay.
Definitely.
So after the environment, I think, that's checked of the holistic areas within the child, immediate vicinity. Let's look at the environment, yes, and what about them themselves? Where do they need to be at? And also, what are they eating?
Yes.
What are you giving them?
Yes.
What do they need to snack in between? All those things.
So the general nutrition and hydration is obviously very important. So obviously healthy eating, healthy snacks, and a lot of water. And you know what? Having kids with their own little water bottle for different events during the day makes a big difference, because that's their water bottle and they have to have it.
I chatted to the dietitian and she actually said, if you find that they struggle with water, go out and do water bottle shopping for them. Let them choose their bottle.
And that works.
Choose a different one for different occasions. So you've also reiterated that. So something parents do that, checklist.
True. And also, for children, like adults, we all need your leisure activity. So we all need that time to relax. And that is extremely important for for our general mental well-being. And with children, it's usually in the form of a hobby, or like things like reading, or a creative activity, whether it be a sport, whether it be making things, whether it just be their Legos or their toys. So they must have a leisure activity, every child, and that must stay with them. Obviously it changes, but they must have it throughout their lives as going into adulthood. I've actually had I had a talk to gave a talk to matriculants, and one of the most important factors I spoke to them was about having a free or leisure activity, and incorporating that in their daily activities. And you need to show it on your schedule that, listen, this is my time out. This is what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be doing X, Y, and Z. I'm going to be reading a book, or I'm going to be outside, or I'm going to be doing whatever activities they enjoy.
And most of them want to go to the devices as an activity. So
let's
parent again.
So away from the screen. So let's reiterate that. Away from the screen.
Because it would be a game or something on the TV, or a Wii or something you get now, Sony, PlayStation stuff.
There's so many.
Okay, half of the things I don't even know how it works, but the children want to do it. So preferably outside, that's away, something for them to build. Maybe go and help out in the kitchen.
Whatever, baking. I mean, if they enjoy baking, that's something that they can do. They can make something. So they must find something that they enjoy away from the screen, and that they can do almost on a daily basis.
Okay, so that's another tick on the parents' box to encourage that.
Yes.
And I want to bring in the assertiveness of the parents, because often you just hear like the parent is busy nagging. And I was chatting to an audiologist recently, and she mentioned about selective hearing and how the body actually tunes out when it's a high-pitched voice. So just from an occupational therapist, how do we best to have that conversation on a level where our children can interact and sort of understand us, and in a way that we are not being the high-pitched, naggy voice.
I think it's a lot of it comes from having that upfront meeting with them. So it's not a
A new
as you
thing.
go we
Yeah.
make stuff up and we so if you have your sort of your set rules from the beginning, and that too is something that you don't say these are my rules. You sit down with a child and say, listen, okay, we need some ground rules.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've got a phone now, or you're going to be starting exams, or you're going to be starting high school. Let's work on our ground. Or we have had rules, but
Yeah.
I think we need to change them. So let's start with some
Okay.
new ones. And you start off there, but it's something that you do together. So I would say, this is what I feel, and they would say, no, I want more, or whatever it is, and they negotiate. So it's like
Change
almost
it,
like we're
yeah.
doing a little contract. But that's a nice way to start off with, because then you've got something to hold them to.
Yeah.
Because when it happens, when it happens out of the blue,
Yeah.
and you say something, and then it's like, oh, I didn't know I couldn't
Could
do
do that,
this, you know, and then it's like, okay, but
That's not the real
at least
thing,
here,
yeah.
you actually have a nice basis
But
to
we
then
spoke
fall
about
back.
it, and it came up and all of that.
Yes.
And this brings me back to Nikki Bush. She has a contract, a
Yes.
cell phone contract
Yes.
on her website. So if you want that, if you're going to give your child any sort of device, and this is for any device, not just a cell phone, download nikkibush.com, her cell phone contract she's got for all parents. So if you're already given the cell phone, I'm sure that contract can be implemented. But we'll chat more on ergonomics and us being effective parents just after this. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. Assalamu alaikum. A very good day to you as we wrap up our show on kids ergonomics. What is ergonomics? If you haven't heard it just yet, it is where the correct posture, what your body needs in the position that it's in to match its environment. And we have occupational therapist who specializes in this. She does it on a day-to-day. We often speak to her about peds and OT around that, but this is something that she does every day. So welcome back, Wahida. We spoke about quite a bit of things, anything from environment to the child's mental wellness, to nutrition, to correct positioning of the environment. And you showed us some wonderful pictures also. And the same applies for adults when it comes to kids.
Yes.
And I know in the medical show we chatted about the keyboard, the wireless keyboard that they can get. So invest in that for your children. I know that they come with batteries or charge, and there's something like 200 rand. So
Yes.
to rather have pain later, spend that 200 rand.
Yes.
So we want to move on to some of the other technology that's available, assistive technology. But just to get back to quickly children and the reiteration of parents encouraging this, because often they say, oh no, I'm fine. In the long term, correct posture, correct positioning and where they are at, how does it affect them?
So if kids are not in the right position, so there's obviously, as we said, our bodies are not meant to be crouched down. Our necks are not really meant to be flexed. And I think it's the position, but it's a combination of the position with an extended period of time. So those two factors is what usually leads to strain on the joints.
Okay.
If there's strain on the joints, that causes some kind of inflammation. And inflammation can cause pain. And if that happens in a prolonged, over a longer period of time, with children especially, it can affect the normal curvature of the spine.
Okay.
And it can then lead to later on having back problems, having neck problems, as a chronic issue.
So I know often my mother would say shoulders back, and you have to sit up straight. Are those all good things to reiterate with your children? Because
Yes.
I've seen adults who are slouch, which is not necessarily the case, that they could have prevented possibly
Yes.
by having and even when they're at the desk, I had to tell my son's elbows off the table or sit
Yes.
properly.
Yes.
So when we do see our child sitting in the incorrect position, what should we encourage?
We should encourage them to sit upright.
Yeah.
Also, it also just depends on what that activity is.
Okay.
So if they are doing a certain position, doing a certain activity that requires for them to sort of crouch down and look a bit closer, that really is fine.
Okay.
But if they are, for example, studying, and they are in that position for an extended period of time, then keep the things that we said in mind about the position at the desk.
Okay.
So if they're doing something and it's for a short period of time, sometimes we don't take that long to eat as well. So if they are crouching down, remember also with children what often happens is sometimes they have a low muscle tone. So that low muscle, as you know, muscle tone is basically the resistance in our muscles that basically keep us upright. And there are children that do suffer from a low muscle tone. It doesn't sometimes, it's sometimes genetic. Sometimes there isn't always a cause for it. And if they do have that, they're gonna struggle to sit upright. They're going to struggle to keep their posture back, and they're going to keep moving
around.
so also if as a parent you feel that my child is moving a lot, they never ever sit upright when they are told, or if they do, they sit upright for a short period of time, then they slouch after a while. And the same is at school, and the teacher says the same thing. Then I would rather go and have it checked out. Maybe there is muscle tone issues, and they can work on a program and do a bit of therapy.
Because does that affect their mental ability to concentrate?
Yes,
and
because
get through the day?
If you have niggles and things that are you have discomfort, or you have things that are like troubling you, even as I said on a subconscious level, it can affect your concentration.
Okay, I want, if inshallah, maybe we should do a follow-up, because this now brings up the when you spoke about low muscle tone and the core being strong. And I wanted, if we have enough time, to just creep in some exercises. But you did mention the exercises and the movements earlier on. But inshallah, we'll look at it doing a follow-up show. Let's talk about the assistive technology that's available when it does come to this.
Yes, so we have the technology available to us. So where possible, try and use it. We can look at things like just increasing the font size of a document, having more clean background so that it's not too distracting for kids. So to consider that. And then what often works for kids is actually to put the subtitles on. And
when they're watching TV.
So that it helps kids, especially when they're learning to read, or it can help a little with developing that language.
No, it does actually.
Yes.
It does.
So,
because my daughter was watching some anime Japanese thing.
Yes.
And then my 7-year-old walked in, and she was looking at the screen, and she said, "But Titi, I'm trying to read it, but it's going so far." So it was, and she's starting to read now.
Yes. So it's brilliant actually, and so for that age especially.
So I've also found with boys, to help with their emotional development, their EQ, it's not something that they're often born with. Through the psychology of birth, I found out that when you let them watch television with the sound off, it actually, because now they're looking at cues of people gesturing and their facial expressions, that actually teaches a boy child to be adapting, to take note of those things which boys don't usually develop.
That is actually
they're quite cold, or they're quite technical,
or they're not in touch with that. Yes.
So I did that with a few of my boys. I hope that that helped a bit. But where I could, I would just quickly turn down the sound so that they could watch it. So that was just something. But as you mentioned, subtitles and using the technology that we have on our smartphones.
So often we have that available to us. And what I really love are audiobooks. So, and you get the most amazing audiobooks. So it's literally like you're sitting in the movie without the actual visuals. They've got the voiceovers, they've got sound effects, and it's really a brilliant way to stimulate language, to get them interested, and actually help concentration. And then you also get them obviously at different, depending on your child's age. So I mean, I think we had one of those long books.
The thick ones. An audio.
It was one of, it was a classic, I think. I can't remember it offhand now. But I mean, we are older in the family. So, but when the kids were younger, we often got the Roald Dahl books.
Yes.
And that set. And those are brilliant. So try and use that as much as possible.
I actually started doing audiobooks not recently, about a year or two back. And I stopped. I'm not sure why, but I had some time and I was busy in the house, and I was just almost like, just kind of getting yourself distracted and listening to the audiobooks. It was a simple audio biography or something, and it was actually quite appealing
Yeah.
to me. And it was quite a lengthy book, but I got through it in a week's time.
Yes, yes.
So now that you're saying, encourage your kids to do that,
Yeah.
it actually
And I
enhances
think
their...
also we in that era, I don't know about you, but I feel like we want to be busy.
Yeah.
Like we want to be
I
doing
know, you got to do
something.
multiple things.
So an audiobook is something that you can actually listen to
Yeah.
while you're busy with something else.
My husband asked me the exact same thing the
Yeah.
other night. He says, how are you able to work, listen to your class,
Yeah.
and still watch something
Yeah.
on the TV?
We've
I said, I
become
don't
that way.
know. It's like I have to have multiple things
Yes.
happening to me.
Yes.
Unless it's not something very strict that I need to concentrate on,
Yeah.
then I will try
Yeah.
and just do one thing. But I said to him, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just like we in that
I
era,
think it's
like you
that,
said.
yeah, it's
the
that
time that we are in.
this era of
That if we're not
being
going to
busy
do...
all the time.
Okay, so what else are we missing on ergonomics?
Okay, so I think that we've summarized everything. It's looking at the child and looking at all of those factors that we spoke about. But I want to just sort of conclude with a very important fact, and I mentioned it briefly earlier on, and that is our children they are resilient and they have the most amazing ability to gain insight.
Yeah.
And they're intelligent. So we often take that for granted. So when it comes to all of these things, I mean, we are now planning, and we as parents and teachers and caregivers, what we need to do. But we need to start off with the kiddies themselves and educate them and let them gain this information, because we want them to be empowered.
Yeah.
And they are the leaders of their life.
So it's almost like us bringing
Yes.
ourselves down to their level.
Yes, and imparting that knowledge, and then letting them use the knowledge in the right way. So if you teach them about ergonomics and you teach them the importance of it, they're going to go to class and they're going to try and sit in a better position. They're going to try to, after 20 minutes, you know what, shrug the shoulders and stretch a little bit. They're going to be aware of it.
Yeah.
And if they're getting pains in the neck, they're going to come back to you and say, you
realize
know what,
what
Mommy,
is it?
my posture wasn't good in school because my neck is sore now.
Text-neck.
Yeah.
I had text-neck defect,
Yes,
Daddy.
yes. They're going to
Text-neck
come and
defect,
tell you
Mommy.
that. They're going to come and tell you
So
that.
just as much as parents, we need to learn all the time. I think introducing them to the
Yes.
things that we are learning and keeping it conversational,
Yes.
making them as part of the, instead of us shouting, sit up straight.
Yes.
Why are you slouching? Go and
Yes.
do jumping. Actually, don't you think you should go and take a break now?
Yeah.
Or it's time to do jumping
Yes.
jacks? Or,
Yes.
keep it, or get it coming from them. How are you feeling?
Yes,
You know,
yes.
because it's important in today's day and age, the era, that we are not instructing our children anymore. We are
yes.
working with them.
Yes. And they will come to
yeah.
a point in their lives where they do it on their own.
Inshallah. It's been interesting. Definitely want to have you back. And I believe you have an ECI store, so an online toy store, which we're hoping to get some of the techniques around that. And hopefully we can partner in giving away some stuff. But I want to see you back in studio with us very soon, inshallah. We're going to chat about that. This has been very helpful. And thank you so much for introducing us to this. I would have never have spoken about ergonomics. And we've been speaking for a very long time.
It was my pleasure.
So Wahida, till I speak to you again, shukran again. Wassalamu alaikum. There we have it, occupational therapists introducing us to a new concept of ergonomics. What is that? It's the correct positioning, posture to not cause any pain and conducive to the environment that you are at. So all working together. Next show, you can join us as we talk about Jannah training, how to attain Jannah, parent your child by attaining Jannah. Very interesting concept by Mu'allima Fadwa, but we'll chat more on that in our next show. Join me, same time, same place next week. Wassalamu alaikum and goodbye for now.